Hi, obviously I'm not an artist, and in this vlog I'm going to be displaying and discussing Necron vehicles. First and foremost, Necron vehicles are weird looking, shaped like insects, aquatic skeletons, famous landmarks, and breakfast respectively. I'm going to start by getting some previously viewed and discussed vehicles that can be found in my end of year review and Necron HQ painting logs out the way. The Catacomb Command Barge is a light tank that carries an overlord into battle. This mini is discussed in more detail in the Necron HQ painting log. In that video, I mentioned that it can be constructed as an annihilation barge, which upgrades its shooting by attaching a twin Tesla cannon to the bridge. This is definitely on the list for a purchase in the not too distant future. Moving on to another previously seen vehicle featured in the end of year review log, the Triarch Stalker, which is an insectoid-shaped infantry and light vehicle hunter. This was the 5th mini I painted in 2023, and I was over eager to get it on the tabletop, and therefore didn't enjoy the process of constructing, hence it's got some technical issues in its build. Check out those gaps in the bridge, and it also doesn't balance correctly on all its legs. The Doomsday Ark is a Necron mobile artillery piece that resembles a large whale-like skeleton with its many ribs that cradles the devastating Doomsday Cannon. The Doomsday Cannon is a direct-fire plasma weapon so powerful it can threaten even the super-heavy war machines from other races. Also, between the ribs protrude rows of Gauss flayers. Most of mine have snapped off unfortunately, which is the standard Necron warrior weapon. This is all controlled from the bridge of the vehicle by a lone pilot. This and the remaining minis are incredibly time consuming to paint due to its many edges that should be highlighted using my now standard and GW endorsed Warpstone Green followed by Mood Green. I recall the building of this mini was not easy, but this may be due to my inexperience at the time. I do believe I've had this model just after the release of 9th edition. This model can also be built as a dedicated transport. Another aspect that the following vehicle has in common. It then becomes known as the Ghost Ark, wherein the cannon is replaced with columns of Necron warriors. Originally a repair barge that glides amongst the ranks of the legions, gathering up and repairing those who are too damaged to enable their reanimation protocols, now repurposed as an armoured transport. The Doom Scythe is a croissant-shaped Necron gunship. As well as being met with many edges to highlight, it is equipped with twin Tesla destructors and a heavy death ray. The heavy death ray, as well as being a devastating strength 16 weapon, invokes so much fear that any models hit by it must take a morale test, giving the Doom Scythe a reputation as a terror weapon. It is an incredibly easy model to build, even more so when you consider the ribs upon ribs of the either types of arc. The pilot is very exposed to the element, but ultimately, as a Necron, he doesn't have to worry about getting dust in his eyes. Its alternative build is as an aerial transport and the cooler named Night Scythe. In this form, it replaces the heavy death ray with an invasion beam that generates active wormholes which invading infantry can march upon their foes. Furthermore, there is, or was, as it's out of production, another, albeit bigger Necron flyer known as a Night Shroud. This resin kit acts as a bomber as well as an anti-infantry gunship, performing a bombing run over the enemy. Shame to see this one be discontinued, and I do lament not buying it at the time. Monolith by name, monolith by nature. This super heavy pyramid shaped former Lord of War was very easy to build and very easy to paint, with the exception of its many edge highlights. On the tabletop, it acts as a battle tank, drop pod and crushing melee threat. A battle tank because of its similar mobility and armament, with death rays acting as anti-armor cannons or multiple Gauss arrays act as anti-infantry guns. The monolith, in the role of a drop pod, is able to deep strike out of space to eject its troops onto the battlefield from a porthole housed inside of it. And as a melee threat, it is a titanic mobile building able to crush with just its sheer size. This is the 2nd generation monolith, which is a sleeker and more interesting looking than the 1st generation, which is just a big polymer pyramid. Moving on to models I don't have, there are the alternative builds for Barge, Arc and Scythe, and the Titanic Obelisk and Tesseract Vault. and the resin form a Forge World, Necron, Tesseract Heavy Construct, and the Tesseract Arc. The Obelisk is a slab-sided war machine used to attract then swat enemy flyers and jump troops out to the skies. It's a unique anti-aircraft piece. Alternatively, this kit can be built as the Tesseract Vault. This opens the external walls of the vault, revealing a Shard of the Catan that can now unleash its many terrible powers on the opposing army. In terms of its footprint, it might easily be the biggest model in the 40k range, clocking in at mammoth 230mm by 255mm. The Tesseract Heavy Construct is an enormous battle walker and big ol' lump of resin, acting not too dissimilar to an Imperial/Chaos Knight with both high strength, high damage shooting and melee weapons. By my eye, it's always looked out of place, largely because of the paint scheme Games Workshop decided to give it. It just doesn't look in keeping with the rest of the Necron range. With a silver light bronze colour scheme and possibly more glyph details, I feel it would look more considerably Necronic. But isn't that the beauty of painting though? You can pick your own colours and create your own details with decals or kit bashing or sculpted with green stuff. The Tesseract Arc is a considerably upscaled Toonblade-ish shaped grav tank. I'm not quite sure what its battlefield purpose is, as it's relatively large with a toughness 9 stat line, meaning it's going to be an obvious target when selecting shooting attacks. It does have a 4-up invulnerable save though. For damage output, it has the Tesseract Singularity Chamber, a dual profile weapon. The chamber is identified as an arcane shielded containment device that holds a slither of a dying star in a stasis field. This does the damage of a flamestone cannon or a low volume shot strength 9 blast weapon. I'm going to say it, the lore here is a mess. And also be equipped with one of 2 Necron selection of cannons, that being Gauss Tesla or a particle beamer. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'm closing in on 50 subscribers, to which I have a fun extra video I'd like to make, so please continue to like, comment and subscribe as I continue to chronicle the collecting, construction and creating.